Hi, I'm Reed Singh, and welcome to the Trip Outside podcast. On this show, I interview local guides and outdoor industry experts to uncover the best outdoor travel spots and epic outdoor activities. Before we jump in, I have a quick favor to ask you. If you enjoy the show, please leave us a comment and let us know what you liked or what you'd like to hear next. Our goal is to help answer all of your outdoor adventure travel questions. I hope you enjoy the show. Hi everyone. On this episode, I had an opportunity to chat with Ike Bancroft. Ike is truly passionate about getting people outside. He leads mountain bike tours in Bellingham, Washington, one of our personal favorite places to mountain bike and visit. We chatted about the best mountain biking trails in the area, around Bellingham, and other outdoor adventures that you can explore in Northwest Washington. I hope that you enjoy this conversation with Ike on today's podcast. How did you end up in Bellingham, and are you a Bellingham native? What brought you there? And when did you start deep tours, and what got you into leading mountain biking tours?
I am not from Bellingham originally. I'm actually from Boston, Massachusetts. I grew up in Boston. I learned to mountain bike in Vermont. I got really more deeply into mountain biking when I was living in Jackson Hole briefly. I was about 18. I just got obsessed with the pass trails where you can, the major highway that connects Idaho and Jackson right there goes over the pass. Yep. And there's
a lot of shuttle riding there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I just got super obsessed, and I would just shuttle every day. I would put my thumb up and hitchhike up the road there. If I could fit my downhill bike, then I would hop in with somebody and then ride back down. Anyway, I moved to Bellingham soon after that when I was 21 for Western Washington University, actually. So I finished out college there. Definitely a draw to end up in Bellingham was knowing all of the outdoor pursuits around there. Part of it was, to keep me sane through college. And I moved away for a little while. I moved down to Moab, Utah. I was there for on and off for 3 years, and Salt Lake for a little while. And then I was back in a friend's wedding back in Bellingham. And when I was mountain biking and visiting friends and catching up with friends, I was noticing that while Bellingham is getting to be more and more on the map, and nobody's guiding up here. And I have recently, in the last year or two, built up all these skills with guiding, and it would be such a cool thing to be back up here and providing that. So yeah, that was back in 2019. I was getting ready to dive in, and COVID slowed things down totally put it on the back burner for 2.5 years, and then just this last winter, I got excited about it again, and it felt like it was time. So I dove in, and that was where Dig Deep happened. And so far, reception's been really awesome.
Well, congratulations on launching and relaunching after COVID.
Thank you.
And I'm interested in learning a bit more about the different areas in Bellingham that you can go ride. And what are some better beginner, intermediate, or advanced rides? Is it all within one area, or are there different sort of trail areas and trailheads that lead to different systems? And yeah, excited to learn a bit more about what Bellingham has to offer in terms of trails and systems.
Yeah. So most people have heard about Galbraith. Galbraith is the main trail system with the most amount of trails. It has like 70 plus trails. So Galbraith runs the whole gamut of what you're just saying as far as ability levels. So that's like our main trail system. It's kind of right next to town. And then as far as just to list some off, the other main ones we have the Chuckanuts, also known as Larrabee State Park. Larrabee, the state park, is one section of the Chuckanut Mountains, sort of towards the southern end. Actually, yeah, it is the whole southern end of the Chuck Nuts. That's our only shuttle area, where anybody can just go and drive up. You have to have a Discover Pass, like a local pass to access natural areas. And you can shuttle up, and then over there, the main mountain bike trails that people shuttle for, those are more in the advanced category. That's a really great spot to ride. It links up these two trails. I believe it's about close to 2,000 feet of vertical, maybe a little less.
Wow.
Maybe 1,400, something like that.
Okay.
It links up Double Black to Double Down are the two trails.
Okay.
It's amazing. It's right over. You don't really, at the very top, you have amazing view of the bay. You're up straight above the bay, and you're just looking right down at it, and you could see Canada from there. From there down, it's I think it was originally a hiking or a moto trail that eventually got transformed into a mountain biking trail.
Okay.
So it's kind of this like fairly raw, rugged trail that has gotten a lot of use in the last few years. So it's kind of had to have more and more built up berms, which are major. My friend Mike Storm that I was talking about earlier with Intrinsic Flow, that's his project. So he takes care of that. Then once you cross the road down low, you would drop into double down, and that's just really cool. A lot of it's kind of gnarly bench cut with some features. There's quite a bit of little natural doubles. There's a probably 10-foot drop in the middle of it, maybe 7 feet. It's just a really great, amazing mountain bikers trail, like a pretty advanced, rugged place. I guess I said I was going to list, but I ended up describing. But anyway,
that's all right.
Chuck Nuts, yeah. Chuck Nuts a second really classic spot. And then the recent past, we've had a couple new developed areas in that are managed by the county, Whatcom County, which is the county that Bellingham's in, and one of which is Lookout Mountain Preserve, which is where the trail Cougar Ridge is. It's actually just off of Galbraith. It's kind of off the backside of Galbraith. That's a really great spot for a bit more of a backcountry experience than really either of the two I mentioned yet. You're in the bigger trees. There's less people. There's a reason that it's called Cougar Ridge. And it's just beautiful back there. You're over by Lake Whatcom. Then the next spot I was talking about was the east side of Lake Whatcom. That Cougar Ridge is on the west side. There's another new area with a trail called Brown Pow, North Lake Whatcom Park, over on the east side. So those are our main spots. There's a few other places that have some sort of less mountain bike oriented trails, such as Lake Padden, the 100-acre forest. There's some areas where you can ride a mountain bike around. They're a bit more of like locals sometimes if you just want to tool around on your bike, kind of go in there.
Yeah, makes sense.
And then beyond that, so those are all sort of more in the advanced, pretty squarely in the advanced category. Your more intermediate beginner options are primarily going to be at Galbraith,
and there's so much there. If you're visiting, I feel like you could just spend an entire weekend or a week at Galbraith and still not cover
for sure.
I mean, or you probably want to hit the same stuff over and over again because it's so fun. I feel like it's such an awesome layout. Like you ride that double track dirt road up, get a warm up, and then you have so many different options to connect and descend and loop over and over again. It's so well designed. It's incredible.
So yeah, it's It's amazing. There's like, if you look at trail forks, it's actually a bit of a like kind of ties your mind in a knot because there's just like
Yeah,
trail.
it's like a
It's
spider
just
web.
a spider web, like a rat's
Yeah.
nest of trails.
Yeah.
And part of the reason for that is from top to bottom, you have for a full lap top to bottom, which is only about 1,200 feet. You have 3 different trails, give any given descent, because
Wow.
every time you cross a logging road, every
Mhm.
descent crosses a logging road a few times,
Yep.
and each time it switches to a new name of a trail. So,
Trail name.
but
Okay.
yeah, there's sort of like basically like 4 quadrants almost of Galbraith, and they each kind of have their own character. Whereas like the southeast quadrant is primarily advanced, kind of more rugged, some old school stuff like some ladder bridges, jumps, huge jumps, like the trail Mohawk, with some 30-foot gaps. And then there's some more snaking intermediate trails through them. And then you have the southwest side. That's generally where I take almost all total beginners.
Yeah.
Those are called the bunny trails, and those are amazing for beginners. They're just these nice and flat snake, like sort of rolling
Very
trails
flowy
with some
still.
beautiful views. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, so you've ridden those?
Yeah, I think I had mostly everything while I was there because I was very curious about.
Oh wow.
And we were lucky the dollar lot was still open back then. So we were
Oh yeah.
camped right at the bottom of the Galbraith Mountain and in our RV, and we
Nice.
would bike out every day and go ride. And it was one of my
Yeah.
favorite times of any
Yeah.
any of my places that we traveled over 5 years.
That's awesome. And you're like, I mean, camping right there, you're like right next to town, but it's like a quiet little spot. They definitely don't let camping. I'm not sure if I've ever even heard of camping there, but
I don't think they
it's
allow
probably
that
'cause
anymore. I may have ruined it for everybody.
okay.
I was allowed then.
Yeah,
I paid my $10.
shouldn't have been playing that loud. Yeah. Right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So
I don't think it's
you
allowed anymore, but you still can park there. And I think it's just $1 still. But we do have a huge new lot right next to it.
okay.
170 car lot.
Oh, good. That was much needed because I think things were getting pretty backed up on the road there. Yeah.
It's getting pretty crazy. It was very needed. I think we had a 30 car lot prior to that.
That's right.
Like
across the road there.
The first 2 weeks of the parking lot being open, the 170 car lot got filled.
Wow.
Completely, and people were back parking on the road again. Yeah. So that just shows you how badly it's needed.
How popular it is.
But yeah, the local trail advocacy organization, WMBC, Walk Mountain Bike Coalition, which I'm sure we can talk more about once we're talking about trail building and whatnot later on. They were a major part of that. They accepted a lot of the donations for it, and they've been working on it for years and years. And finally broke through, and the county, I believe it's the county land. Yeah, it's county.
Okay.
Finally approved it, and it happened this past year. So that's been huge, and WMBC does a lot of amazing things for the community like that, as well as way more than that kind of thing. But yeah, so yeah,
I think that's a good segue actually to no, go ahead. I want to get the list first.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, beginners who, if people don't even want to ride trails necessarily, like beyond beginners, just if they're just not interested in risk, we have a lot of really cool like greenway type trails. You can actually ride all along the base of the Chuckanuts, on like a 6-foot wide trail that's nice and flat with some hills here and there, but So we have some really awesome options for that as well. If people just want to, or hop on a gravel bike and just ride around. Yeah. So
What are some other things that you like to do in Bellingham when you're not mountain biking?
one thing I always like to remind people when they're coming for tours is like we're right on the bay, and the bay is one of the most amazing, unique things about Bellingham. There's not many other outdoor towns really that are right on the ocean, and as well as having all these hills and mountains. So taking advantage of that in whatever way you want to. Some things that come to mind are, just there's lots of really cool beaches that you can walk along. We have these kind of rocky sandstone beaches with some sandstone cliffs, and it's just so nice to get, especially like after a ride, you're out in the woods and then get down onto the bay and take that in. There's a lot of people sea kayak, stand up paddleboard, other water sports, sailing and whatnot. And then a major thing I think is I really recommend people to do is take a whale watching trip while you're here. You can go straight out of Fairhaven, right, which is a little section of Bellingham, and you can take a sea kayaking trip all out around the islands. We have orcas pods nearby, so they'll take you out for like 5 hours, or you can even do they do like evening cruises, where you can just go out for the sunset. And once you get out onto the bay, you turn around and look back at Bellingham, and Mount Baker is just towering over Bellingham. You wouldn't even,
Oh, wow.
You don't realize like quite how close it is until you're out on the bay. In a lot of places in Bellingham, you can see the very top of Mount Baker, but when you get onto the bay, it's like, you're like, oh yeah, Bellingham's like right at the base.
It's like Rainier in Seattle,
like,
but you got to get far away to be able to see it.
Exactly. Yeah,
so
it's perspective. So that's like one of the major things. Like if I were to plan like 3 activities for people, I would say like, people who are looking to mountain bike, I would say like take advantage of the water somehow, get on a mountain bike, and then go and get out into the mountains, like the bigger craggy mountains, however that is. Like, if you're there later in the summer, you can drive up pretty high. You can drive up past the Mount Baker ski area, and you can go drive to basically tree line and go hike right along some ridges, and say like Ptarmigan Ridge is a great one. It's like Ptarmigan. That starts out at Artist Point. It's a very popular place. A lot of people from Seattle come up for that. That right there is like, that's kind of like the trifecta of outdoor.
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty epic weekend, dude.
Yeah,
it sounds amazing.
For sure. You got to also throw in some breweries and maybe like a concert or something. But
I think that's a requirement, right? Like if you come to Bellingham, you can't leave without going to a brewery.
You got it. Yeah. Important.
Well, I wanted to switch gears and ask you a bit more about if we're visiting Bellingham, if doesn't matter how somebody's gone, or maybe other outdoor towns you've gone through, Moab, Jackson Hole, and all these other really popular outdoor destinations. How can we as visitors do a better job of visiting and understanding the community's needs? What are Bellingham's needs in terms of challenges that you guys see, what not to do, and how can we better visitors and connect with Bellingham and the community better? If you have some tips around not just mountain biking, but visiting the area in general, we'd love to share those with people.
Yeah. So I would say first and foremost, I think there's a level of curiosity and respect to carry into the process of going to visit somewhere that is going to drive your actions towards being a better visitor. Sometimes, especially in this outdoor sport context, we can all get really focused on the sport and like wanting to ride a specific trail or climb some specific multi-pitch, or ski a couloir or whatever it is, and you get really focused and you forget that like you're a visitor to this place. to a place. And like a lot of outdoor towns, it's great in a lot of ways because you can be bringing income to a place that needs a alternate form of income. But a lot of outdoor towns have a lot of issues with really too much of a good thing with that. So I would say, first and foremost, just kind of knowing that you are adding, I don't want to say to a problem, but you're adding to the numbers of people when there are enough, when the number gets to be enough, then it becomes a problem. And the best thing to start out is just to be aware of that, and not definitely to still come, but just knowing that, like, bringing in respect and curiosity for the place itself beyond the outdoor sport is crucial. And then I think like some hard skills, like some actual techniques for achieving that. First of all, just reading into the place, like what's a little bit of the history, even just the most beginner bit of history. What drives that place? Who has lived there? What native populations lived there in the past, and are they still there? What has happened in terms of industry there and brought it to where it is today? What's the context of the environment there, and then tourism's impact. So say Moab is a huge one. That place is being kind of loved to death in a lot of ways. And I mean, there's a lot of people working hard and doing a great job at trying to promote more sustainable recreation there. Like, national parks, federal organizations like the BLM, local county organizations, and then nonprofits. But so with Moab, you have a ton of people who are going there for vacation and want to explore, and the desert is a super fragile environment, and not every single person knows the impact that they're having. Like, you might know, oh, don't step on the crust, but what about once you're in a Jeep on a trail and there's another Jeep coming the other direction, you just drive off and crush some sage, and and then that widens the trail by another foot, and then other people follow the same track, and the next thing you know, that little section of land is never going back to where it was. So right. Knowing that, like, every single person has an impact. Anyway, I guess
that we are traffic. Yeah, just being exactly. More, taking us a few extra minutes to do a little research, check in to a local maybe outfitter or outdoor visitor center, maybe while you're there, and just go a little deeper, dig deep tours, right?
Dig deep tours, exactly. So yeah, I mean, that's actually where the name come from. Not, it's kind of a play on words with digging deep when you're super tired, and but also actually was where dig deep came from. It's something that I'm trying to infuse into the overall philosophy and operations, is how to promote looking a little bit deeper into where you're going. And then if you can find out about the local trail building organization and donate, it goes a huge way towards supporting that local area. And it's almost like the equivalent of like a carbon offset.
I fully appreciate that you call out. Yeah, I think we're so grateful in mountain biking to be able to go ride these trails for no cost. When you compare it to a ski resort where you're paying $100 plus for a pass, right? Like, just taking that time to appreciate and give back to the local trail organizations. And I know you mentioned the ones in Bellingham. We'll make sure to have links in our podcast for all the organizations and everything you mentioned. And I think you give part of your booking amount to the trail, or you give back to the trail organizations a lot, not just your time and money to them. Ike, I am so stoked that you are part of Trip Outside, and I can't wait to personally get out there and ride with you. I hope you're feeling 100% by the next bike season when it comes around, spring and summer, and all of your injuries healed quickly as possible. And I am really thankful for your time today. Is there anything that you wanted to share that we didn't get to cover on the podcast?
I don't think so. But yeah, thank you for your time, Reed.
Ike, thank you so much. I am so excited to finally catch up with you. It's been a pleasure, and I really appreciate all of the work you're doing, not just taking people out mountain biking, doing the education, the trail building, and giving back to the community. I really hope that we can connect. And if you're stoked to listen to this podcast, please let Ike know at Dig Deep Tours, their Instagram. We'll add links to all their social channels, and go visit Ike and take an awesome mountain bike tour in the Pac Northwest in Bellingham. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Trip Outside podcast. If you enjoyed the conversation, let us know in the comments on Apple Podcasts. Share it with your friends and subscribe to the show wherever you listen to your podcasts. Also, if you felt inspired to travel, you can support the show by booking your next trip on tripoutside.com, the easiest way to book human-powered outdoor adventures.